Hello, everybody. Welcome back to part two of this town hall discussion of the Bob Marley One Love Movie. We're back. I'm your host, Carrie Ann. Michaela is my co host. And with us is Chris, Indira, Mikey, Jendai, and Alexandria. And guess what? We're not going to run the introduction long because we want to get back into discussion. In part one, we covered who met the film, we covered the review of the film, we covered the characters. Now we are going to go into the little color commentary with opinion about it because we did prim and proper in our part one. So in part two, we're going to fly the gate with opinion. And why Michaela they laugh off of me? Because me, I am
You
the
are real
expert.
selector, you know. Rinse it. Rinse it.
I was a selector in another lifetime. And I remember some me come at your thing and say, yo, me dress for this clash. All right, I'm ready. Sound for
Nah,
dead.
somebody funeral. Yeah. All right.
That's
Sorry.
what I said. Sorry. All right, reel it back now. So we're coming in, and I want Chris to kick us off because we just feel like, say, as Jamaicans and Caribbean people, we know the story. So this little pian pian thing, when they give you, we're going to support it. But we feel like, yo, it never really they give you what we're supposed to give. And it is not the mix up about in baby mother we're asking. And I think people misunderstood that. What people are asking for is like, when me listen to a Bob song, me love music, like I feel it in my soul, like certain songs, especially when I know which part of the Bible it a quote. You understand? Forever loving Jah is one of my favorite. Cause me know which part in the Bible it a say, I know what it mean. And you feel so emotional. But yes, say, yo, oh, the man just sing the tune in my ears like, yo, whether you say Jah, Jehovah, or God, or whatever you want to say, how you feel this, but then explain to me what make you go out there so and they give your woman, your wife, bun with extra cheese. Like, explain that to me. You understand? So that is what people are trying to reconcile. They might understand how come you're a revolutionary and they fight for the people in Africa and your wife over here they fight for your prominence as a minimum wife and to leave and cleave and be, like one and only. So Chris, me go kick it to you. Me don't give me spiel. Ja Rastafari.
Jah Rastafari, ever living, ever faithful, ever sure. More and more. That Bob said, more and more, gal. Anyway, no. So, real talk. like, I mean, listen, I we know what biopics are. I mean, we've seen Ray, we've seen Straight Outta Compton, we've seen. I mean, we could run down the list. There's so many that have been made, right? They definitely missed the mark in more ways than one. They definitely didn't. The story felt to me exactly like what everybody was saying earlier. It was like a tribute to my dad and my mom. It was not. It was not something that people who are lovers of Bob Marley and want to understand his story, it was not something that made you get real insight into his life, because everything that they told was stuff people. I think people already all the stuff people already knew. They knew about the seeing from watching documentaries, the whole peace concert and what happened, and so it's like they did not take the time to really dive deep into what I'm carrying. Say it, speak.
I have to tell you, so in the movie theater, the scene when the gunman them are running and you see the gunman behind Rita, and somebody go, oh, so Mr. Well, I never know so Rita get shot in her head.
Shut, yeah,
So me in the
yeah,
movie
yeah,
theater.
yeah. Well, unfortunately, that's something a lot of people, maybe a lot of people did not know that,
Nico,
but
Nico must elbow me because I was saying it, like we most
take,
Jamaicans, that's knowledge for us, right?
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah,
when I
yeah.
say, well, I never know this, like this was, so in one sense, I can see why they made it, but it was just like for me, it's like you never know this.
No, but we were talking about even this from the storyline. Okay, so they chose a particular period, right? I get it. You want to choose a particular period because you don't want to go all over the place, but you could have led up to that period. You could have spent a little bit more time with Quan developing that whole young Marleys, because the Whalers, the Wailing Whalers, when they came out with Peter Tosh and Bunny Wailer and so
Simmer
forth,
down.
simmer down. I mean, that did mash up the place. Is that set the foundation, right? So now you could have taken that and led up to that particular part and given us a rich story, something that would have made people connect and identify and feel Bob. And then the more I walk out the film singing Simmer Down and all the other songs where they make back then. I mean, it just they
Simmer
go ahead.
Down was
Chris,
probably the best
their
scene.
their
The
biggest.
Yeah,
best
yeah,
music
yeah.
scene.
Scene, yeah.
Listen, but also, was it you? Listen, was I the only one who was very perplexed how them portray Lee Scratch Perry
Oh,
and
oh,
and why
and
name
Cox and
But
Don.
and
yeah,
Coxon? I was like, yo,
not
Coxon go.
Coxton. Yeah.
I was
First of
like,
all,
why?
not exactly. Why did they do that? Because
Yeah.
they wanted something sensational. It was total and utter BS. Okay, because while I did hear Coxon was no joke, and I met him one time many years ago, but I mean, it wasn't necessary. It was
What
a
did it
totally
add to
unnecessary
the
scene.
story?
What? Yeah, what did it exactly? What did it add to the story? You know,
It was like a
I
checkbox to say we captured that element. Like
right.
I knew it was Lee Scratch Perry as soon as I saw him. But essentially, like the story with Lee is so interesting because essentially he go on. Carrie, why y'all bust out that it seems before me finish my thought?
Listen, because if you are going to include Lee Scratch Perry in a Bob Marley's timeline and story, that wasn't when you were supposed to do it. You were
Exactly.
supposed to do it further down. Come on, man. That is not even when you want to introduce me. But anyway, I digress. Go on. Alexandra, me need you to jump in as the historian among us, So go on. But
Go on,
I didn't
Alexandria.
think it was additive to the story, as everybody said. Yes, you may want to convey that he was a hard man, but they did it. And then what after that? Which is like it fell flat. You're sure so them go in there and then them start off a little dull, then mash it up with simmer down, and then what happens after that? Which is why the whole flashback thing was just like so odd to me. Sure.
I was trying to, put my historian self aside and say Bob Marley passed more than 40 years ago. So all of the pitney them where my age and younger than me where them grow up and listen to the song, but they maybe don't watch documentaries and all the things when me do cause my thing different. Fine. How impactful would this you know iteration of this story be for them? And I was like, all right, they might get say he was very pro black, and there's the have to go to Africa, we have to go to Africa iteration of this story. But I definitely do think it could have done more in terms of showcasing his life. I was trying to figure out if they clearly, as was said before, they've lined it up in terms of this kind of like, what is it, 1975 to 1978 benchmarks, right? And everything else are sort of flashbacks. And if that was the sort of like categorical issue in terms of how it's framed, right? They are framing everything in terms of these very, sparse three, or not sparse, but a lot of things happened in the three years, but they're centering it in that time frame. And if that was part of the issue in a sense, in terms of trying to understand who Bob was outside of 3 years of his very short life.
As far as Dr. Lee Scratch, now I was super excited. Once I found out who was playing him, I said, oh, yes. Because I fell in love with him from Better Must Come, Evie, or Eddie, Poco Poco, whatever you want to call himself. I said, oh, perfect person to play Lee Scratch. Perfect. And then they give us this little, what he said, 2 words? They give us this little of him, and we don't
It
really
gives the
get to
little
see him
trips in the
as the
dance.
Him never
character.
get no
Yeah.
word. Him just
They
get
didn't
in
give
little
us
I
dance.
don't
That's what
think
I'm
he
saying.
got
Who really
thinking
people
parts.
barely had words. There was literally no storyline in this whole thing. It was just everywhere. And then Kwan, the guy who played Young Bob, even him, I said, okay, even casting wise, looks wise, he's a Jamaican. Yeah. Let us see more of him for this character. A little bit more nothing. And the movie is not as good as that last documentary. Is it called Bob? That last documentary, that big one,
Marley, no. So you
No.
or
have the last
Marley?
documentary was I Shot the Sheriff, which is streaming
Oh,
on
right, but
Netflix,
not
and
that one. Not
the
that
one
one, but
before that
Marley.
was Marley, which is the first one where you had members of the Marley family, and
Right.
that one is streaming on Amazon Prime. Yeah, go on, Jen.
That's but once you see that and then you see this, it's like, how are this? Like, why would you do this? And there's Mali people, or some people like, I mean, grand picnic them, respect them, big up yourself. But I don't know. I mean, don't know what is.
I have a question. So, all right. Um, Ariel, my daughter, kind of said it where, Americans, Black Americans specifically, they love it. Jamaicans, we all over the place with it. But I've seen people in Jamaica and I've heard stories where they're like, oh my God, it's so amazing, Oscar winning performances. So, Americans aside, why did Jamaicans in Jamaica saying, oh my God, this is amazing, this isn't a blah, 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 and we here say,
We're
maybe, I
not
don't
here
know.
with dirty laundry.
Mm.
We're going to talk about it at the kitchen table. We're going to work on this together. But for the most part, we have to make sure that the word out there is this is a great movie. Go watch it. And I think whoever was doing the interviewing at the end of the day was looking for people who had a positive reaction to this film. Because and guess what? Everybody else does it. Nobody else just goes out and, bashes their culture or whatever. Italian Americans, Irish Americans, whatever it may be.
But we're not bash with culture.
No, but
Remember, yeah, me hear what you say. My philosophy is we can love a thing, but we have to critique a thing.
oh yes, we're gonna critique it, and that's why
Okay.
things like these exist. And but when we're talking about the big commercials, go watch Bob. But we're gonna come to our safe spaces, which are platforms like this, where we can have a really critical conversation. But do we need to have that critical conversation in public?
I have a question for Indira, because Indira is the sole non-Jamaican among us, but she is Caribbean. So, Indira, how is your perception of the film? Like, overall, your perception of the film versus what you are hearing us, because you always have a different perspective. So, I'd love to hear what you have to say.
I actually did enjoy the film. I think because we don't get too many Caribbean stories, so I'm always excited just to see something with a Caribbean with a Caribbean story up on screen. In LA, we have the Pan African Film Festival, and there's hundreds of films, but I always go through to look to see which ones are the Caribbean stories, and they're mostly shorts, and that's what I saw this couple weeks ago. But to see a full feature length film that is a Caribbean story, I was pretty excited to see that. So I mean, I enjoyed it.
I want to come back to you, but this movie is really outside of the Harder They Come. This is the first real reggae movie. Shatters is not reggae; it's dancehall.
You're not gonna
So
count Cool Runnings?
no, no, blasphemy.
Well, to your point, this is the first reggae movie.
Yeah. No, it's not
So
the
that-
first reggae. It's the biggest one, because you would count Harder They Come
Perry
as the
Mansell's movie was
first.
the first.
Yes,
yeah.
the first. Yes.
Yeah.
I am very, very corrected. And that was phenomenal.
Yeah.
I watch it now and it's still good.
Yes. And so here's the thing. So Indira, from your perspective, is this conversation helpful? Because if we're happy to see Caribbean film and we're here, like we went to see it, we will go see it, we'll spend money to see it, we'll tell you to go see it, but we're going to criticize it. In the world of TV and film, is there a place for critics if there are not enough of us in this space, or enough films, Caribbean films in this space?
I feel like these conversations are helpful. I mean, you have to critique films in order for them to get better. We're the best ones to critique it, because if you read the headlines from Deadline or Variety, they're very biased on how they critique Black content. So I feel like this is very helpful to see, and I can't wait for people to check out these episodes.
Thank you, Mikey. Go on.
Am I the only one that feel that they miss the mark when it came to that last concert where Bob held up Michael Manley and Edward Tiaga's hand? Like when I saw Kingsley walk into there, I was like, "Oh, it's about to get real. We are about to go to a concert." Like Jamie Foxx when he became Ray Charles and he sung it, and when Chadwick Boseman became James Brown, I was like, "Okay, Kingsley, this is your moment." The rest of it was dubbed, but Kingsley's about to, and then they went into the archives, and I was like,
Listen, I said the same thing. So the woman who played what's her name? Dobson. I actually know her. Sandy. She was also she's the video girl in Shaggy's bombastic video. And if you watch I Shot the Sheriff, she actually said that when Bob did that, she felt like the sky opened, lightning and thunder.
"Yes, they
Um,
said that, and I shot the sheriff."
Sheriff, right? So in that it was a pivotal moment when he did that, and they chose not to do that because that is the most recognizable aspect of that concert itself. The other one that I'm surprised they didn't show within that time period was the Zimbabwe and him going to Africa and doing the perform. Like I'm like, wait, why we choose this time period if we are cut out the iconic moments of the time period? So it kind of goes back to us feeling like you just tell your parents story, which nothing is wrong with that, but the audience is not connected to your parents the way that you are. And the other thing, now we're going to this, so we notice the Marley family up until this point, they move as a unit, solid, in sync. And I felt like they were out of sync with this, with the rollout and the promotion. I felt like they were out of sync. It's an observation. So I learned this week, bright girl learn at school. You have opinion and observation. Is this a general observation everybody have?
One
Yeah,
hundred percent.
Yeah.
100%.
100%. I love Damian
Somewhat.
Marley. I follow him, and I'm like, on his IG page, like you can't even see it in his stories.
Yeah, so that was something we observed. Everybody that speculates. So something was out of sync. We know that when the Marleys have a project,
Well,
whoever
Sydney
is
never know until she go at the premiere at Jamaica and see herself in a phone booth. I'm being messy, but it was again, not to even go back to like the womanizing part. There are parts that humanize, and I don't even necessarily think that. Well, you can say what you want. They would call it womanizing, but essential, yes, it's called womanize. Yeah, don't stop, Carrie. We can't manage your facial expressions. Um, but the moments that they left out to make him human, there was a we hear a lot about Hope Road. How did Hope Road come to be? Right? Because essentially it was a safe haven for many. They avoided the political conflict, the strife, the struggles that Rastas had to go through. The only scene that you saw was in the beginning when he was stopped by the police officer and the police officer didn't recognize him and them call him a dirty Rasta. But that was the only inclination. Like we shied so far from the political connection of Rastafarianism, Bob Marley, the significance, out of fear of what exactly? I don't know, because it was such a significant part of his story. And then not only that, the moments of Hope Road where there were so many people coming in and out of that house. Why was that? Why was that the center of so much people asking for help, being able to come to the gate? Like I wanted to hear like what there are stories out there, right? Of someone older woman that place helped, and there was only one person really relegated, and it was kind of like a dismissed aspect of his intent on helping people, right? And the Africa part, it really, I think that he always really wanted to reach black people, the black diaspora holistically, right? And he didn't get to do that in his life until he was able to go to Africa. And they had to kind of allude to it, right? They didn't even really talk like talk about the significance of what that meant for him, right? Rita lives in she lives in Ghana. She has residency there. You know what I mean? Like the connection between Ethiopia and Rastafarians. Like all of those things it was an opportunity to for people who claim they really love reggae and love reggae music to truly get a history lesson on Rastafarianism and why it exists, who Bob was really talking to when he did those songs, right? Because he was talking about the civil rights movement, he was talking about Pan-Africanism, and he did not get to we did not get to see that fullness, right? Most people already know One Love, but One Love is the tip of the iceberg.
Serious thing.
Me I gotta stop there, car. Me know on a marinate pan things.
No man, what you said is true about the music. I mean, they did not go into we everybody talks about the womanizing. By the way, me did see one documentary when I interview Bob. I saw woman come in and Bob say, if you're looking for trouble, you come to the right place. But I
Real
but
lyricist.
But outside of that, he was very clear about when it come to music. That's when you saw Bob very serious. Like him, he was precise, if that made sense. He was very precise in what he wanted to do, when he wanted to do it, and how he wanted to do it. And I'm disappointed that the only time they show Bob serious about it are when he licked down the man rightfully for the take the money. But the violence was just like, okay, you know what I mean? It's like they showed his reaction to his thing, but they did not show the passion that to hit the thing that he's reacting to the man thief. So that don't make no sense. So there was just a lot of missed opportunities, and I think we we understand the legacy of Bob, and anyone watching in this age that they'll take forward and say like, all right, I don't get the big deal about this guy. So I think that was the missed opportunity. Again, story could have been better, but I like to see the potential. What I enjoyed most was the potential of those in the film. Like I said, Sheldon Shepherd, me love me, like me say, yeah, the man bad like a yas, me I tell you. You understand me? I say bad, 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 bad. And me feel like me just like me seeing star arise. And to your point, Mikey, I think he just needs opportunities where he can become another role outside Jamaican. But I feel like if that's his pocket, sitting in pocket, because Jason Statham appear shut up movie in a me not see one movie where he smile. And if at that time typecast, at that time typecast. So if Sheldon I got typecast as a Jamaican and a Rasta, him a go, make him own it. You understand me? I say from I'll know every time we see Jason him a transport somebody and somebody are dead. So let me say, if Sheldon I got just hold the role, just let him hold it, right? We see the potential for, like I said, the potential of Kwan, and even Naomi get a few speaking lines, but I think that we hope that from this movie, we can only hope, because we may not get it, we can hope from this movie that, our films are bankable, they're marketable, but we know so them are gonna say, well, Bob Marley's an outlier. So we want to talk about like what we see as down the future in terms of Caribbean film. And I want to start with Indira. We're gonna go to Chris, Alexandria, and then anybody else who want to add based on what those people say.
Okay. I mean, what I hope is that, I mean, this movie has been doing, I guess, pretty good at the box office this first weekend that it opened, and I'm hoping that the studios will see that, like, one, our stories deserve to be told, and that, you know, that they should take a chance because it'll pay off. Um, and I hope that this, like, opens the floodgates to more stories, because I feel like there's plenty of, I mean, Caribbean stories out there. It doesn't always have to be a not a docu film, but like a film based on a real person. So I feel like I want more of the studios and more filmmakers to be able to dip into all aspects of Caribbean content.
Yeah, I definitely think there's an opportunity. I mean, I think it was 2011 that Storm Salter did "Better Must Come," right? And I got a chance to talk to him way back then, and it was an amazing film. It was very well done. It was very well shot. I know people. Hopefully, most of you have seen that film. And this was not a big production, like no Paramount, no Viacom, no Warner Brothers, none of these big studios or whatever did this. So we have the ability to do these films and tell our own stories. And I'm hoping that, out of this, more stories like that will be told. But the key to those stories being told and being seen is us supporting them, right? Unfortunately, sometimes we don't come out and support enough. I'm a big believer in supporting the arts and pushing for that. And I did a screening of Better Must Come here back then, and I mean, we had a great turnout. But the fact is that those are the things that we need to do more. We need to make sure that when our films are being told by us, by people that look like us, not the Paramounts of the world. They have money, endless money for do whatever they're doing. But when it's being
Actually,
done by us and independent, no. In other words, we're still going to support it. That's not what I'm saying, Kerry. It's just that we need to put more behind it when it's independent. A
no
whole
man,
lot
I
more.
agree with you. Yes, a
Yeah.
Paramount have money, but make me read our recent news.
Oh
Paramount
yeah,
have
no.
issue. So
They got issues. They have issues. But now the budget for this film was I believe 70 million, right? To date worldwide, it's grossed about 86,688,696 dollars, according to Box Office Mojo, right? That's where it's at to date. So them have somewhere more to go, and I feel like it'll definitely go past the $100 million mark worldwide. Um, Go
yeah,
ahead. Where you?
the thing about timing and Better Must Come, I can't find Better Must Come on any streaming platform.
I know.
But I also think of the timing, right? Where streaming is a little different, and I wonder if it'll be successful. We don't know the answer because um we want to go where the eyes are. And recent news that came out, Amazon Prime and a few of these have pulled their investments into the African movie industry. So it is changing, but this is why Reels and Rhythms, we did it because we want to participate in the ecosystem of our films, right? We talk about them, support them, create reviews around them. But I'm wondering, distribution, that is the bigger problem. Distribution for people to see it, because people go out and see the shorts, as Indira talked about, but once they're going in the film festival route, we can't see them. We don't see them because by entering into film festivals, they cannot be made available to public. But this is why we're watching and rewatching the shows that are coming out. But again, distribution and marketing and promoting. One of the other reasons why we've done Reels and Rhythms was because for certain shows that came out last year on certain streaming, they never market to we. And most of the people in our community never knows what the show is about. I recently did a what do you call it, a poll on the one that we just watched, Champion. A lot of people didn't know about it, so we have to do a better job, and which is why Reels are we're doing it so people know about it and they will go and watch it. But again, the Marley film, I hope that it creates interest. If anything else, if there's no new project, interest in existing projects. It's important because if people are restream and we rewatch A Different World and Living Single, we are supposed to watch our thing multiple times. and we need to figure out how we gonna get dancehall queen on what streaming platform, you know, how we going to get, lunatic panache. You understand what I'm saying? Like the things that we know are in our filmography, or the canon of Caribbean films. How can we see Harder They Come, right, on a streaming platform? So these are the things that I'm saying that if anything, it just creates interest into the canon of what we have available in the realm of Caribbean film, not just Jamaican, but Caribbean film.
In respect to where does Jamaican or Caribbean films go from here, the question is, and I know one of the biggest hurdles I have found, like with my documentary, has been my documentary is an hour and 15 minutes. And when I tell people that in the film festival circuit, they're just like, oh God, can you cut it down to 10 minutes? Can you cut it down to 15 minutes? Their fear is people, I guess, of Caribbean descent don't want to sit down and watch. And I'm wondering where that even comes from, because I don't know where it comes from, but it has been a resistance that I have met a lot. And I was gonna ask in Derek, because I know she said that when she went to the film festival, the Caribbean films are usually in the short section. And I don't know if that's by design or is that by lack of funding and people not actually being able to find a way to get people to look at that. And then the question for the film festival circuit is, are you marketing to Jamaicans and Caribbeans to actually come out? Because I don't know too many from where I'm from that really go out to film festivals. So it might be a very difficult market to push it in. So that's my biggest concern.
Yeah, the last couple of years I've gone, it's just been shorts, and like I'll go through the website and like search to see like which Caribbean stories, and they'll like be roped in with short, and then not all the shorts within that series are like Caribbean stories. It's just like I don't know how they decide how they're going to bundle them together. I think the last time I saw a feature at the film festival that was a feature was this movie called Brown Girl Begins, and I think that was probably the longest one that I saw. And then after that, everything has just been like shorts only. Like even Harain, who was Carrie Ann had interviewed a couple weeks ago, his movie was, bundled in with some other shorts.
So, and as we begin to wrap up, we should set some expectation. We want to manage expectations. The Marley film and the success of it, we hope leads to other things in the industry, but it's not a guarantee because Marley, in and of itself, is an icon larger than the island. It's larger than life, and so a project for him being greenlit makes sense. It doesn't necessarily trickle down. And that's why we continue to support the smaller projects. So I want to get last words from everyone, and we'll start with our quiet historian, Miss Alexandria. Any last words on our discussion about the Bob Marley One Love film or Caribbean films in general?
I think one thing that I will say, which has been definitely mentioned, is the need to really market towards us, right? Carrie Ann had me on a Carry On Friends episode talking about Black Cake, and the amount of people I personally talked to didn't even know that Black Cake was a Jamaican novel, novel written by a Jamaican author that was then turned into a Hulu series, forgive me, is incredible, right? And I saw several things marketing wise for this film, a big Ferris wheel, run a one place, run a one part. When I said okay, and it just I kept
You know,
one
friends,
love,
like
and I was
where's the
like,
connection?
yeah. So it's one thing to say marketing, but the marketing also needs to be very pointed, in a sense where I feel like we always have to say, like, one hour we need for the pan for them board or however this goes. But clearly, it goes beyond that because we would think in our minds, Marley family depend on thing. So it should have shot in a particular way. But that impetus for to really say, we are in charge of our stories and we're also getting that message out across to everybody is one that needs to be really driven home.
Um, Jen, any last words?
I just want them to do better. That's really all I have to say. As far as Jamaican movies, I wish that a lot of even some of the films that I see, the films that people put together on these YouTube channels that I watch, so the amazing things that these people do with limited resources, I just wish that more of that could be showcased and not just go to independent film festivals. I mean, that's all. That's really all I have to say. I mean, I just wish for that, and I wish that for the films that do go to big production, I kind of talked about that in the group chat, that they actually people would be compensated properly, because we have so many. It's This conversation could go on and on, but yeah, compensation and all sorts of other things play into part of why we don't get the proper showcasing. But I'm just glad to see that more of it's happening. A lot more is happening than in the past. So I'm glad for that. So we're moving along. We're making progress. So I'm glad for that.
Yeah, Mikey.
Simplest thing I would say is I'm happy for it. I'm glad it's here. We have to start from somewhere. And I hope when they make, because I'm going to speak it into existence, when they do another major production that is Caribbean based, whether whichever Caribbean island it is from, I hope they take a look on the marketing side. When I see Kingsley he's on The Breakfast Club, he's on Stephen Colbert, he's on all these different media outlets throughout America and Europe. I kind of wish that they did the same thing for the Dutty Berry show. Like your show, like how do we make sure that they're also marketing to our people? Because I'm sure a lot of people who never watched the Colbert Report but know who Kingsley is watched his show and they were introduced to other audiences. So there are plenty of economic upsides from having a film like this, and hopefully on the next production we can tap in on those other the round size, not just thinking about the star or thinking about the actual film, but thinking about the overall economic impact that a film like that has, and make sure that we are in every part of it. Because while the Marleys were a part of the production of the film, were they a part of the marketing and that cultural aspect? Like, we don't need a big Ferris wheel. That's not connecting to us. Talk to 50 Jamaican people right now, ask them, now go upon that. It just have to be real. And that's it.
Before I got to Indira, you made a good point. And again, it is why we started Reels and Rhythms, because we realized that people don't market to us directly. And it's not just non-Caribbean brands, even Caribbean brands. It's just the other day that the Minister of Tourism is pointedly marketing to the diaspora, the Jamaican diaspora. Before, they didn't market to us because them take it for granted. So we're gonna buy the products or we're gonna come there. And with with black travelers, them realize that no, we're not for come back home. We are go wherever Phuket, wherever all over. And so now they're marketing to us. But also, like you said, supporting our platforms. You come on a carry on friends, a style and vibes, a reel and rhythms. And you made the example of Dutty Berry. And I saved it for last because Tessa and Chin won the voice because of Dutty Berry. If he did not do
I
the
didn't know
breakdown
chin was my word, my phrase, my
Chinita,
sentence.
sentence,
Chinita.
my alphabet, my word, my sentence, my alphabet, right? If he did not do that show, Tessan Chin would not have won the voice because he really rallied everybody, not just those in Jamaica, but those outside of Jamaica to vote for Tessan Chin on the voice. Because otherwise, most people don't watch The Voice. After The Voice, nobody know what else. And since then, there are other Caribbean people that have been on The Voice, but they push what Tessan did get because of Dutty Berry. That's a case study that people should use the power of what we can do when we mobilize and galvanize our community to support our people when they're in an audience that don't know them. Most of us didn't know Tessan because of the one big song she have, but let me tell you, Dottie Berry deserved the credit for doing what he did. So I like that point, and thank you for raising that point. Indira, any last words?
To go back to like something that I noticed in the film, I said this like the second time when I saw it to myself. I was like, when Rita checked herself out of the hospital, and then she came up to meet Bob, and at that moment it was just like, oh, he just gives her a hug and he says whatever, but I'm like, you don't give your wife just got out the hospital, no kiss, just you weren't that affectionate to me. I was like, that's very odd. and I felt like they really weren't that affectionate even throughout the movie. It was just like, hugging a friend, a
I
cousin
felt
or
like that
whatever.
was affectionate. I guess that might be the Jamaican upbringing. That was as affectionate as Bob was gonna get.
Oh,
I
really?
was like,
Okay.
it was a militant rebel, and that's exactly what they're not showing. Like,
Uh,
he was like, they portrayed him as this like soft spoken young person,
uh,
which he probably was, but he came into his own, and he was like, yeah, yeah. All right, sorry, I'm gonna cut you off, Indira.
no,
Sorry.
no, it's okay. That was really
Um,
it that I had noticed.
I mean, it goes back to what we are saying. It really goes back to Ray and Get On Up, where the family isn't as close to the project because you can't tell the story objectively if you are in the family and very close to the story itself. You can oversee it, and I guess again you want some control over it, but it because of that, it wasn't told in a objective way. And because of that, some key things that would have showed him as a complex man, a complicated man, instead of creating a single story for Bob, because that's what they succeeded in doing, creating this single story of Bob. And Bob is not, Bob Robert Nesta Marley is not a single story. He's a complex man. And people gravitate to him because people are complex, and they like that this man who is able to do all of these other things are all is also imperfect and complex, and that's what people are kind of looking for, right? Chris, any last words?
Yeah. I guess when I can go and go see the film and support the thing, and the thing. No, but seriously, um, you know, I really do want people to still continue to support the film, right? Because it's our story, and it's for the culture, right? I do hope that people who are close to this are listening to the feedback that is being shared and do things differently, because it's very important that while we tell our stories, that we tell it in the right way. This is why it's important for us to control our own narrative by owning media, owning distribution, owning different platforms that will allow us to have that level of control. And we also have to realize that even though there may be limitations in ownership, we have a significant amount of power in social media and other aspects that we can use to push whatever it is, whatever story it is that we have to push forward. And with the collective community that we have through grassroots marketing and so forth, we can achieve. Look, it's endless what we can achieve. I mean, look at just to take a page out of the hip hop book. I mean, you have our guy, what's his name from New Orleans? Oh God, you know who I'm
Juvenile?
talking about?
No
Huh?
limit soldier.
No
Oh,
limit soldier. Exactly, exactly.
Oh, Master
Uh,
P.
that's the
Master P. Exactly. I
I was
mean,
gonna say no
yeah,
limit.
Master P. But Baby, Cash Money, all of them, they did all this stuff on their own. okay, and made millions and millions of dollars. So the thing is like we keep waiting for these people, other people to save us. They'll never save us. We could save ourselves. So we just have to do what we have to do to push our stories forward, tell our stories, utilize us. We're all of us as individuals are powerful. Together, we're even more powerful, and take the thing forward. All right. That's all I gotta say. But support the film. And one more point, I forget to mention. One thing that was missing for me, that was big, that I didn't see. There was no antagonist in the film. Who was the antagonist?
No, me
Who
can
was the
tell you.
antagonist?
The
Yeah,
antagonist was Lee
yeah.
Scratch Perry, Coxon that. Like everybody else was the antagonist. Everybody else. But so that's why it
Jamaica
felt,
collectively was the antagonist because
Antagonist,
remember,
yeah.
like
yes, the
he
politics.
Yeah, yeah, the
and
politics. I
but
get it.
yes,
I get it.
but they didn't even really go there, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. That's what I'm
The only
talking
scene
about.
that we got that was when he said, "I can't believe my own people did this to me." That was
Yeah,
it.
because
Yeah,
they didn't
yeah.
want to go into the whole politics of SIAG and the CIA
They
and
should have. They
all of that.
They
should
could
have.
have touched on the
It's a
politics
Yeah.
fact.
without without getting like choosing sides. They did
Yeah.
not talk about it at all, right?
I
They
mean,
should have
I
The
mean,
looked away.
point,
and
the hand holding at the end didn't happen.
no, but even still, the and Alexandria knows this because she knows the story of Claudie, right? And the idea of Claudie, the PNP and the labor rights strongman are go England for go
Yeah,
talk to Bob
yeah.
because they want to bring peace. That is a huge thing.
It's huge. They just
It
glossed over it as if
that
it was
Nobody
just
knew who they
a
were.
thing. And it was a big decision for him to make. Like, how did he come to that decision? Like, what really was going through Claudia that mind in order to like what was happening in Jamaica at that time where it was so bad that it was just like, oh, I saw it on the news, like it was like 5 o'clock news. And things are getting bad down there. But what does that like polarizing, and we've seen it in Better Must Come, right? They were already filming in Jamaica. The gully that the neighborhood them still look the same.
so while we here,
Next me I get vexed. Yeah.
yes, Alexandria, you want to explain?
And I'm not drawing no
Wait,
out.
wait. We soon wrap up. Me like spend Friday night with them. We soon wrap up. But who is Claudie and what the other one name? I can't
Um,
remember his name, but yes.
May I try look it up quick?
All right, yes. So while she look
Bucky
it up,
Marshall.
Go on.
Bucky Marshall.
Bucky,
Bucky Marshall.
Bucky.
There we go. So I'm unmuted. All right. So at the, sort of pinnacle of the 70s for Jamaica, right? Very new decade mash into our foundings as an independent nation. And not necessarily different from other political systems, but we in Jamaica have two predominant political parties, the JLP, Jamaica Labour Party, and the People's National Party, PNP, which also didn't get a great explanation. They're setting up having wars and, civil unrest in Jamaica, but the whole major context of that outside of figureheads of Siaga and Manley got very overshadowed quickly. But to that point, there were lots of in the sense that during this period both parties are also using a lot of the local gangs as sort of backings in terms of their elections and political leadership and how that goes. So people are buying into buying into votes, people get their money for votes, etc., etc. And this civil unrest that kind of got glossed over a little bit, which is why part of me felt like there were aspects of the movie that as people who know the story, we're like, yeah, man, that could have glossed over quick. But if you're coming to the movie with a new sort of framing, you might not understand all of the contentions to these points. But all that to say, when they do end up in England and coming to Bob and saying you need to forward back because things are getting out of hand, there was a major point that might have seemed small if you're not familiar particularly because the extent of the civil unrest at the time was really dividing the nation along party lines. Like, yeah, go out in certain colors, and all of these things have created very stringent barriers between people in the communities in Kingston, particularly.
Thank you for the background on Claudie and Bucky. You can that was very important because again a lot of the crime was centered in Kingston, and for anyone watching, there's typically somebody who runs a JLP controlled area and runs a PNP controlled area, and Claudie and Bucky represented those areas, and they were the dons and whatever associated with that. So they kind of glossed over that and the impact of that trip to England to kind of say, Bob, come back to Jamaica. And again, to really watch the context of this and to get into this, I highly recommend you watch I Shot the Sheriff on Netflix, because they really get into Claudie, Bucky, and the whole story around them, and how the both of them were end up in a gun court or general penitentiary, and how they ended up being killed and murdered or whatever. On a side note, and we go wrap up. I wouldn't get that big Air Jamaica plane from.
Yes.
No, I think they painted it. They probably just did
It's like a rap or
Could be CGI.
yeah,
or-
CGI
Or
visual
CGI.
effects.
That
Yeah.
stood out to me as
So
well.
I was
think it
wondering
some
because
type
I
of
was like, that need to
CGI.
be in a
The
museum
pink was
somewhere.
a little off. The shade
It
of the
was a
pink was a
CGI.
little off. Me just a say.
And then when he come off of the plane, me want know so well on there. His son never have no parental supervision. He just in the crowd and then just file him in the car. So.
He really came out of nowhere.
Just
Like,
run with
get
everybody else.
That's because he was the executive producer. Ziggy.
Exactly. Where it come from?
But it wasn't Ziggy that was in the crowd. It was another one of the kids. I don't remember. It wasn't Ziggy.
Said Ziggy.
He said Ziggy.
He said
If I'm not
Ziggy.
mistaken, he
He
said
said
when he
Ziggy.
got into the car.
That was the third time Ziggy
Yeah.
name was mentioned. He called
Yeah.
Stephen name
And
once.
then he
called
also
Stephen
later
name
asked,
three
It's
times.
Ziggy. It's
Ziggy
Ziggy.
all right? Like
It's
Ziggy
Ziggy.
want him take for.
We know it's Ziggy.
Listen, and then just file him in the car. So.
I think it's Rowan.
No, watch it again. Me swear say he never said Ziggy. He said
gonna
one
watch
next
it
to
again.
Pitney.
Said Ziggy.
I'm
in
gonna
the
watch
show.
it again. I
It's
know he
Rowan.
said Ziggy.
Yeah,
It's
I'm gonna watch it
Ziggy.
again.
He said Ziggy
Ziggy.
3 times and he said Stephen 1 time in the beginning. They're the only
That's
2 kids he had.
Yo,
They the
that
only two kids they
word
mentioned.
for it. Him
I
go
saw
see
two
him 5 times.
miscellaneous girl children. Two miscellaneous girl children in the side. They pat one of their head one time.
Exactly.
oh yeah, he
That's
never
it.
named them.
He didn't name not one other child.
My word, my
That's probably why one of the sisters didn't show up to the
Stella
screen.
did not show up.
It's like, oh, I don't even get a
She's
call
in
out.
the
I don't get a shout
credits.
out.
Because she have to be. Don't let it run without her.
So let me ask you: was it me? Did anybody else notice that Neville Garrick's name was absent from like in honor of or in memory of?
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
like this
but
is
it
the
might have
man
missed
who.
editing, but I don't know.
Nah. There's posts. You could do
Me
that.
know,
You know
me know,
that takes
me
2
know.
seconds. They know what to do. I mean, he was significant in Bob's life. The man passed away from cancer. Like, why was his name not mentioned at? You know what I'm saying? Me never appreciate that one there, but that's under my.
I think
all them little things.
To all
Even,
of our
okay,
point,
even
I
if
think
it wasn't said. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead.
No,
Even
I
if
say
it
even if it
said.
wasn't said in the film, like I think even when you're doing interviews and so forth, that's something to talk about because you're talking about a story of someone who was larger than life, whose larger than life appearance or whatever was made so by these other people, right? You know, the contribution that Neville Garrick gave to Bob helped to make him larger than life. He was basically the painter, the illustrator, the man who gave us those album covers and those, you know, basically gave us the imagery to make us see Bob in that light. I mean, it wasn't simple. You can't like gloss over that, you know, but
They
But
go
also-
over so much.
Alan Skill Cole. Where Alan Skill Cole did that?
But also Mommy Sidela, as in Bob mother, she didn't really get a lot of feature, which I that to me that was odd because of the relationship they are known to have
Yes.
had
Yes.
with each other. I mean, clearly he named his child after a mother, right? So there's mention of her, but other than the flashback scenes and the Nadine Marshall having the one line, there is not much of Sidella, Bob's mom. Actually, Bob father get more, references in a the film than Bob mother himself. So even that, um, was just kind of weird. But again, you watch it, it lead to various debates and conversation. Everybody family group chat still around hot after all of this chattings and stuff. So we're going to wrap it up. I love talking to Uno. I really would like Uno come back for another episode of something while we're talk down the road. Up next on Reels and Rhythms, we're going to be talking about Three Little Birds, which is streaming on Amazon via BritBox. After that, what's coming up? We have Shirley that is going to be coming up on Netflix. And we have Queenie that's on Hulu that's going to be out in June. And in between, we have Wally things that we're going to watch. So Reels and Rhythms, the content are come and we run it. So we are excited. We are excited. If you don't have any opinions and you tell me which one of the festive guests you want to be a part of the conversation, we will have back. I'm so honored to be in your company and to have this conversation.
All
So
right, Karen, you and I have to share last thoughts.
oh, my last thoughts.
Yes.
Me watch it. I watched it. I will not lie. I watched it out of duty. As a Jamaican, I watched it. I will go and support it, and I want everybody to go and support it. And it wasn't everybody thought it was a good production. I mean, I expect it to be a good production. That's the bare minimum, right? But a better, I would have liked the writing to be better and the story to be better. I think they did a good job with everything else. I just had an expectation of what I wanted our icon Bob to be, and it didn't meet my standards, but it didn't mean it was subpar either. I'm a Jamaican. I'm going to critique it much differently than someone who's not of the culture.
Yes, I agree. It was good. Go see it. What I am hoping is Storm Salter does a mini series, takes young Bob and recreates the entire story in a seasonal format for us to really get a bigger picture of everything. So may I put it out in our universe, Storm, because me think say yeah, the man fit do it, and you can even reprise some of the actors that you have already worked with, and really do that. I love seeing us doing all types of projects. I would love to see more, even going back into like our archives of turning more books into film. um Someone mentioned Brief History of Seven Killings. That's been on the docket for I thought it was going to be Amazon Prime that did that movie
At
mini
least 10
series,
years
whatever.
ago.
Yeah, it's been a while since that has been revisited. Additionally, I would love for us to go back in our bag of like all of a sitcom, right? What does that look like reimagined? What does
Everything a
Under
reboot. So
Minoa's
let's reboot for
what does
within too.
Under Minoa? Yeah, everything I reboot. What does Under Minoa's
Boops.
look like? What does Boop? You know, what the other one? Those
Mama
plays,
man.
Mama Man. Like, what do even Dancehall Queen? Like, I feel like Shensia could make an appearance in a Dancehall Queen. She or like a Jada Kingdom could let's go back into our bag. We're in a new era now where we have access and we don't have to wait for these things to Chris and everyone's point that we have the content there. We just need people to execute and support it from a bigger standpoint. So that is my hope. And not just Jamaican films. I want to see, I just listened to the podcast about what the prime minister in Grenada. Oh my god, that was done by the
The Empty Grave of Maurice
Empty
Bishop.
Grave of Maurice Bishop. That needs to be a mini
Phenomenal.
series. You know what I mean?
Phenomenal.
It's so good. You know what I mean? Like those are some of the stories that we should be telling as well. In addition to the gunman tunes and stories where we have rinse it. Like the people them say, rinse it. We have enough content, so just keep it coming. I like that we're seeing more of it. So I'm excited to continue Reels and Rhythms, but wanna get me excited on a Friday.
All right. So thank you for joining us. We're going to end the recording, but we're not going to sign off. We're going to labrish. So until next time, lick more, walk good later.